Something significant is unfolding across the Caribbean. Off the northern coast of South America, Russian naval ships have arrived in Venezuelan waters for coordinated exercises and technical exchanges. On paper, these operations are described as joint maritime cooperation, training, navigation, communication, and regional security. But in reality, they represent something much deeper. A signal that the global balance of power is shifting in ways not seen since the end of the Cold War. For more than a century, the Caribbean has been considered part of Washington's strategic domain. From the Monroe Doctrine of the 19th century to modern defense agreements, the United States has viewed this region as its sphere of influence, a zone where foreign powers were not expected to intervene. Yet today, that long-standing assumption is being tested. Venezuela is making it clear that it will not remain isolated or dependent on a single power structure. The arrival of Russian warships isn't just a show of strength, it's a statement of sovereignty. Venezuela is saying to the world, we have the right to choose our partners, to defend our coasts, and to determine our own future. This cooperation is taking place under international maritime law with full transparency and global awareness. Still, its timing amid heightened global rivalries and economic pressures gives it enormous symbolic weight. These developments come after years of economic sanctions and diplomatic isolation that deeply strained Venezuela's economy and institutions. Those policies were intended to pressure Caracas into political change, but instead they have pushed the country toward new allies. Russia's involvement through naval collaboration, energy investment, and technology exchange offers Venezuela an alternative path for national defense and regional partnership. But this is not simply about two nations working together, it's about how global power itself is being redistributed. The unipolar world that emerged after the Cold War, with one dominant superpower at its center, is slowly giving way to something more complex, a multipolar order where influence is shared among many players. The Caribbean, once a quiet corner of global affairs, is becoming a visible stage for that transformation. For decades, the sight of Russian ships in the Western Hemisphere would have been unimaginable. Today, it's part of a new geopolitical normal, one that reflects a changing reality in which smaller nations are asserting their agency and large powers are diversifying their influence. Venezuela's decision to deepen its naval and defense cooperation with Russia did not happen overnight. It is the product of 2 decades of geopolitical pressure, economic sanctions, and diplomatic isolation that have reshaped the country's foreign policy. For Venezuela, this new alignment is not simply about military strength. It's about survival, sovereignty, and reclaiming the ability to make independent choices in a highly polarized world. Over the past several years, Venezuela has faced extensive international sanctions that restricted its ability to trade oil, access financial markets, and import essential goods. These measures, designed to pressure its leadership, have instead driven the government in Caracas to look eastward, to Moscow, Beijing, and other capitals willing to engage on equal terms. Officials in Caracas describe the partnership with Russia as sovereign collaboration, one that includes maritime security, energy cooperation, and technical support. By working with Russia on naval infrastructure and coastal defense, Venezuela hopes to strengthen its ability to protect shipping lanes, fishing territories, and energy facilities, all critical to its national stability. For Russia, its growing partnership with Venezuela represents more than a regional alliance. It is a reflection of Moscow's evolving approach to international relations in a changing world. After decades of strained ties with the West, Russia has been seeking new ways to assert its influence globally, not through confrontation alone, but through presence, partnerships, and diplomacy in regions where it once had little footing. The arrival of Russian naval ships in Venezuelan waters, while modest in scale, is a strategic gesture with multiple layers of meaning. At one level, it reflects defense, cooperation, training missions, port visits, and joint operations aimed at improving maritime readiness. At another, it's a clear demonstration that Russia is capable of projecting influence far beyond its traditional geographic boundaries. From the Russian perspective, partnerships like these also carry a message of balance. For years, Moscow has voiced concern over NATO's expansion and the presence of Western forces near its borders. By cultivating friendships in Latin America through trade, diplomacy, and limited security cooperation, Russia conveys that global engagement is not one-sided. From Washington's perspective, Russia's naval presence in the Caribbean and its growing partnership with Venezuela have not gone unnoticed. U.S. officials have described these developments as activities that require close observation, emphasizing that the United States will continue to protect its interests and ensure regional stability. For over a century, the Caribbean has been a core element of American foreign policy, viewed as a zone of strategic importance, both economically and militarily. Trade routes, energy supply chains, and proximity to the U.S. mainland make it one of the most sensitive regions in Washington's global outlook. However, official U.S. statements have been measured. Rather than framing the situation as confrontation, the focus has been on transparency and maintaining open channels of communication. Pentagon and State Department briefings have stressed that nations are free to pursue lawful cooperation provided it doesn't threaten regional peace. The arrival of Russian naval forces in Venezuelan waters is more than a regional story. It sends ripples across the international system, influencing economic, diplomatic, and strategic considerations far beyond the Caribbean. Venezuela's engagement with Russia signals a subtle shift in trade flows and investment patterns. Russian companies have contributed technical expertise, investment, and resources in areas such as energy infrastructure, mining, and port management. Diplomatically, Venezuela's partnership represents an assertion of sovereignty. By working with multiple international actors, Caracas demonstrates that decisions about its future will not be dictated solely by traditional Western influence. This approach resonates with other nations in Latin America, Africa, and Asia, where governments are increasingly emphasizing independent foreign policies. Strategically, these developments provide lessons for the global community. They highlight the importance of dialogue, transparency, and lawful engagement. Rather than signaling inevitable conflict, Venezuela's cooperation with Russia underscores how partnerships can be structured to enhance national security and regional stability without threatening neighbors. As we look ahead, the Caribbean is once again at the crossroads of history. The developments in Venezuelan waters are not about provocation or conflict. They are about choice, strategy, and the assertion of national identity in a complex world. The story of Venezuela, Russia, and the United States is a story about learning to coexist, adapt, and collaborate. It is a reminder that in today's interconnected world, leadership is measured not just by power, but by wisdom, foresight, and the ability to engage with others constructively.